Ashdale. A sleepy island south of the Feldip Hills, this unassuming island used to be the tutorial for the game for about 6 years. While it is visually beautiful, it has always lacked features for players to return to, and thus has always been a weird enigma since its release. With little to do beyond a place to rest, Ashdale is the most recently released town we've discussed, but was neglected almost as soon as it was introduced. So let's see if we can't change it, and expand the Runescape map just a bit further. What's up everyone, this is Destroyer229, and welcome to the Hotspot. On the final video for this batch of Hotspots, we'll be taking a look at Ashdale, the site of the former tutorial and possibly the birthplace of the World Guardian. Canon uncertain. Ashdale is weird in that while it was the site of the tutorial, it was possible to return to it afterward, though the facilities it offered were lacking, to say the least. It's odd in that it has a lodestone for players to easily return to the island, yet there's hardly any reason why anyone would do so. And with the Ashdale tutorial removed, it has even less significance. So today, we're gonna try to fix this, and bring some attention back to the sleepy hovel. We'll go over this in 3 parts. First, we'll go over the history of the island, and show just how desolate it is. Second, we'll introduce a plot hook to further explore RuneScape's deepest secret. And third, we'll introduce a new training method in what's probably the least thematic skill to the area. So don't stare long into the abyss. The abyss will stare back. Ashdale was created to be the site of the tutorial, replacing the Troll Warzone as the first place players enter the game. Ashdale was released on November 26, 2013, and went over a lot of the basic controls and skills in an isolated manner. This tutorial was eventually replaced by a remade tutorial island on May 14, 2018. And the Ashdale tutorial was removed completely on September 2nd, 2019. As far as activities are concerned, there's really not much. You've got a copper and tin mine, and a fishing spot for minnows, and that's about it. There is also the Agaroth boss fight that can be replayed after finishing a shadow over Ashdale. And while it's a distraction and diversion, it's incredibly easy, and gives a very pitiful reward in about 60k in drops on the high end, or a black pearl that gives the equivalent to a medium star of bonus XP. Overall, despite being the most recent location we've discussed, it also has the least amount of things to do. Beyond Shooting Star's landing here, most people are probably not going to be heading to Ashdale for any reason. It's the one location that is in most dire need of an update. So let's see if we can't try to liven up this cozy hovel. Unlike the other area refreshes, we're going to start with the story edition. While there isn't much story relevance in Ashdale, the only quest to involve them had a heavy reliance on the Crassians. While they serve as a pretty generic aquatic enemy, they're usually accompanied by those serving Zao talk. It makes sense too, since their design is very Lovecraftian in nature, and Shadow over Ashdale does have some pretty overt references to Lovecraft's stories. And considering Zao talk is basically a deep one, it makes sense for this to be the catalyst for our story here. So we're gonna lean into this a bit more, and have this quest be a jumping off point for more exploration of Zao talk, however little we may glean. To begin, you'll need to complete 3 quests: A Shadow over Ashdale, Pieces of Hate, and Curse of the Black Stone. While this does have some hefty requirements, it feels necessary for the topics and characters involved. Though if we had to loosen the requirements, then Pieces of Hate could just be a recommended quest. Curse of the Black Stone could also technically fall under this recommendation, but I'd like there to be some requirements beyond a basic free-to-play quest, so I'm keeping that as a hard requirement. Our quest begins on the docks of Ashdale, as Madame Shi and her new crew are causing a stir. After all, a warlord from the Eastern Lands is an unheard of event in a place as isolated as Ashdale. She will tell you that she's investigating the Crassians. After her involvement with both Rabbit Jack and the Ambassador, and both utilizing these things, she wants to find out just what these sea creatures are, and how they keep showing up whenever something cataclysmic happens. Her hope is to eradicate the Crassians, in the hope that a ritual like the Ambassador's could never happen again. And she's convinced that the Crassians have some role to play in such a ritual, as she saw firsthand their involvement with Rabbit Jack, the Acolytes of Seiryu, and the Ambassador. Her research brought her to Ashdale, as they had such an incursion before even Rabbit Jack's plan took off, so it was as good a starting place as any to begin her investigation. The two of you will begin your investigation in the Ashdale Caves, following the path originally taken in Shadow over Ashdale. The Crassians you two encounter will be significantly stronger, on par with those levels in the Shadow Reef. Along the way, the two of you will find old, waterlogged journals off the corpses of the Crassians. These journals will vary from random sailors' logs to explorers trying to uncover the mysteries of the deep. One of these journals details how the Crassians turn people into them, though the journal gets cut off and so the information is incomplete. After traversing through the Ashdale Caves, you and she will uncover a hidden cave, with an ominous energy coming from it. After getting through some puzzles, which we'll skip over here, the two of you will find a black and purple altar, with a floating robed figure examining it. This altar is the Lesser Dark Altar, and the robed figure is Tis, who is studying the properties of this altar to better understand its purpose and its connection to the main Dark Altar. Tis will say that he hails from the city of Archaeus, one of the 5 major cities in Great Korend, a kingdom on the continent of Zeya past the Western Sea, and his studies pertain to this very altar. He will say that the main Dark Altar was originally located in the depths of Karumja, but was moved during the God Wars to where it now rests near Archaeus. While she wants to destroy the altar, Tiz will explain that no weapon or magic can harm the altars, which gets proven when she tries to attack it to no effect. However, at this point, some Crassians attack, and after you fend them off, Tiz will put up a barrier to ensure they don't come back. After this attack, Tiz will explain that the Crassians are likely drawn to the power of the Lesser Dark Altar, and are there to protect it from any outside influence. While she is still determined to eradicate the altar, and the Crassians with it, she will have no choice but to return to the surface. After parting with Tis, you and she will return to Ashdale proper, and while she feels she has more questions than answers, she at least feels like she's taken a step forward in her search, and will likely set out soon to follow more leads. She thanks you for your assistance again, and with that, the quest is complete. Now, there's obviously room for expanding what lies below, either in the caves or the path to the Lesser Dark Altar, but what specifically Jagex wants to reveal in this quest would be up to them. This quest serves more as a teaser for the events to come for Zao Talk, while also canonizing Zeya in Runescape 3. We're also setting up that the Dark Altar has some connection to Zao Talk, which that connection isn't present in Old School. If you have any ideas on expansions or lore drops here, be sure to comment below what you would want to see. This outline is still pretty bare bones, so there's plenty of room for expansion. But for now, let's delve into what this Lesser Dark Altar can do. So before we go into details on the training method, let's address the big issue here. No, this isn't meant to properly introduce Zaya to RuneScape 3. At least that's not the intent with this update. We're already expanding the map to the opposite direction with Havenheith, so to expect an adaptation of Zaya before Havenheith even gets released would be crazy. However, there is a lot of additional world building that can be done by certifying that Zaya does indeed exist in RuneScape 3. Obviously, there need to be some explanation as to why we've never heard of Karend, like, say, the aftermath of the God Wars prompted a combined effort between Karend and Varlamore to separate from the mainland, and maybe finally getting a name for the main continent. And when they detected that the edicts fell, and mysteriously went back up, there was enough curiosity to see what was going on. Or, if we want to tie this more directly with the quest, that research into this lesser Dark Altar was necessary, and so this barrier was brought down for either this reason or another unknown one. The exact reasons can vary and can honestly be really vague, and Zaya at this point would just be a place that's mentioned but inaccessible, like Arposandra and Acheron currently are. As stated before, the main purpose here was to both canonize Zaya into RuneScape 3 and begin exploring more of Zao Talk. This is definitely meant to be an update meant for the far future, or at minimum, be set up for something related to Zao Talk, like, say, Zaros' return. It's certainly the most ambitious update I've discussed in this batch, but also one I would not expect to see for a long time, or at least the fruits that this update is seeding wouldn't happen for a long time. So, now that that's been addressed, let's look at what we can do with this altar. So what can the Lesser Dark Altar provide players? And why is Tis here in the first place? After the quest, Tis will explain a bit more about Arceus and why he's there. Arceus, for our purposes, will have a pretty similar backstory to Old School. Lord Troban Arceus was able to obtain the secret of immortality, and channeling the power of the Dark Altar was able to provide that immortality to the citizens of Arceus. This power would be weakened the further someone was away from the Dark Altar, and go too far for too long and you would die. So most citizens never leave Arceus, at least for long periods of time. However, rumors spread about a power similar in archaic energy to the Dark Altar that was detected to the east. Using a special spell from Lord Arceus, Tis was put into a trance to prolong his life away from the Dark Altar until he could explore further at his destination. Should the rumors be false, he could easily teleport back to Arceus to ensure he didn't die. His ship went to the source of where this archaic energy was, which just so happened to be Ashdale. After some investigation, he was able to find the Lesser Dark Altar, and found that simply being near it provided the same benefits as the main Dark Altar, though this power was significantly weaker and would likely not sustain many people. This confirmed that there was a link between the two altars, though how the immortality ritual worked through the Lesser Altar and why remain a mystery to him. His goal now is to increase the power that the Lesser Dark Altar can store, and set up a sort of outpost on Ashdale for citizens of Arceus to set out from for further studies and expeditions. Although he only just found the Lesser Dark Altar a few days before you and she arrived, he has an idea on how to strengthen its power. Unfortunately for him, he cannot accomplish this task alone, and asks for your help. The player can help Tis by gathering soul memories of certain creatures. This would function pretty similarly to the ensouled heads in Old School, where a set of creatures, when killed, have a chance to drop a unique item that we can then take back to the Lesser Dark Altar. The types of monsters can vary, but some examples could be goblins, giants, avian sea, hellhounds, dinosaurs, etc. these would have a flat drop rate, and would simply be a tertiary drop from these monsters, just like Ensouled Heads are. We can then take these soul memories to the Lesser Dark Altar, and fight a spectral version of that creature. This version would be immune to all forms of damage, except necromancy. Yup, we are using Ashdale as an alternative necromancy training option. Upon defeating these ghostly creatures, you'll be rewarded with some extra necromancy experience and dark fragments, which can then be turned into Tiz for various rewards. A lot of what this proposal is trying to do is reimagine certain aspects of the Arceus spellbook as necromancy abilities. One of the most notable abilities on the Arceus spellbook is the ability to summon thralls to help you in battle. These are very similar to necromancy conjures in that they are undead that you summon to assist you in combat. Essentially, we're retconning the Arceus spellbook functionality to be side upgrades for necromancy. While there are other types of spells in the Arceus spellbook beyond thralls and reanimation, these two aspects of the spellbook are what we are focusing on here. The rewards for helping Tiz are designed to assist in both necromancy rituals and combat. Some of the consumable/repeatable rewards could be dyes to recolor our necromancy armor, different tiers of necroplasm, mementos, ectoplasm, and some uncut moonstones. Some more permanent unlocks could be scrolls that increase the effectiveness of your rituals. For example, giving a passive multiplier to your outputs on top of any multiplier glyphs, or an XP modifier for doing disturbances. There could also be scrolls that unlock talents in the Well of Souls, like new abilities or passive modifiers to your conjures, like passive damage boost or extending a certain conjure's duration. These new abilities would likewise require talent points, and could also require necromancy levels beyond 99, which would help fill out necromancy's lack of content in this area. You can of course toggle whether you want to receive soul memories from Tiz, as these soul memories would not be stackable, and could be a hindrance to players' combat training. I should also note that you do not need to kill the normal monsters with necromancy in order to receive soul memories. Only the spectral forms require necromancy to kill. I did want to try to separate this from the Slayer Codex as much as possible, since the two share a similar pretext of killing monsters for souls, so I hope there's enough to distinguish the two apart. If you think this is too similar to the player-owned dungeon, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can differentiate the two even more. And that is this week's Hotspot for Ashdale, and the last of the area refreshes. What do you think? Do you have any hopes on what secrets the Crassians are hiding? How do you feel about incorporating Kandarin this way? Do you have any suggestions on rewards for turning in dark fragments? And are there any neglected areas you'd like for me to cover in a future Hotspot? While this may be the end of the area refreshes, I can always look into other areas of the game that could use a little TLC for another round of Hotspots. Thank you for sticking around for another batch of discussions. It can take a while to write, record, and edit these videos on top of my existing content, so I want to thank you all again for your patience on this. I've got another set of Hotspot videos in the planning stage, but I've also got a different Runescape series that I've been researching for, and I should begin recording on that very soon. So be on the lookout when that series starts. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time everyone, take care.